Well, it's been Labour conference week, their second conference in power, having won that massive majority at the general election. And I imagined it was going to be a week when they'd talk about their achievements in government, their plans for the future. We didn't hear all that much of those. But it all began on Sunday morning on the BBC when Keir Starmer was asked a question about our policy on indefinite leave to remain. This is what he said.
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
Now, I don't know whether he'd planned to come out and use the racist word or not, or whether it was just a response to a question. It seemed to me he was pretty unsure of himself when he was saying that. Either way, once that was out of the bag, they decided as a party to go with it all week, despite the fact that the very next day, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, put forward her own proposals to tackle indefinite leave to remain. But having let the cat out of the bag, they continued all week. Here was Chancellor Rachel Reeves.
Those people have got every right to be in this country, and the idea that they would be deported just because they weren't born here, I believe that policy is racist. I believe that policy is wrong.
Well, clearly it's racist to think that benefit should only be for British nationals. But there we are. And David Lammy, never one to miss out on such things, he joined into.
He must call his scheme to round up and deport our French, our Indian, our Caribbean neighbours who already have indefinite leave to remain what it is. It is racist.
Well, what we have learnt this week, even from the Home Secretary, is that the Boris wave will not be denied indefinite leave to remain. Somewhere between 1 and 2 million people will be given, over the course of the next 3 years, indefinite leave to remain. It means once they get it, they'll all be entitled to a life on benefits. They'll all be entitled to bring dependents. But there you are. Now, I just have to sort of inject a lighter note into all of this, and that was the Mac cartoon on the front page of today's Daily Telegraph. 2 delegates leaving the Labour conference, and one says to the other, next year, I'm going to the Reform conference. They don't spend the whole time talking about Nigel Farage. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and I'm going to buy the original and put it up on the wall. But I wonder, is the big speech that we got today from the Prime Minister, is the repeated use of the word racist, what does it all mean? Well, I don't mind personal insults. I'm big enough and ugly enough to take them. But I do think on this, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet have sunk into the gutter. And I think what they've done is inciteful and dangerous. And I say that especially in the wake of the murder of my friend Charlie Kirk just 3 weeks ago. He was called lots of nasty names. And we've already had a situation of violent attacks on Reform supporters, and I really worry this will embolden the radical left. It will embolden those who wear face masks and are quite prepared to use violence. And I think, frankly, what the Prime Minister has done is a total disgrace. I hope he wakes up tomorrow and he's ashamed of himself. That is my opinion. I believe it very strongly. But I wonder, is sinking to this, is this the last throw of the dice of a Prime Minister who politically is in more trouble than any Prime Minister has been at this stage of their premiership in modern times? Let me know. Is this the last throw? Tweet hashtag Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Now, I hope I'm joined down the line by Lord Glasman, Labour peer and founder of Blue Labour. Morris, good evening. Welcome to the programme. Just to begin, I think you were quite happy.
Good evening, Nigel.
Good evening. You were quite happy with what the Home Secretary had to say.
Oh, very. But first of all, before we go any further, I'm very proud to be Labour, and I'm very ashamed about the accusation of calling you a racist. I am going around this conference and I'll be writing articles absolutely disputing that. I know, Nigel, that you are not a racist. I know that you spend a huge amount of your time expelling racists from reform. So please accept my personal apology, not from the party but from me, and I'm honoured to be on GB News. I'm honoured actually to think of you as a friend. So that's a disgrace to me as well.
Thank you, Morris, for that. Now, we don't agree on everything, but thank you for that very much indeed. But I mean, what I was expecting to hear from this conference were the big plans for the future. And it seems to me we heard precious few.
Yeah.
The Home Secretary talked about indefinite leave to remain in much the same way that I'd talked about it the week before. But now we learn that actually she's dropping it for the Boris wave. So what does it all really mean?
Okay, so what I would say, Nigel, is that Shabana Mahmood is a great blessing for our country. She's a Muslim woman who's genuinely patriotic, and she's also very tough. Did you notice last week there was the Eritrean guy who claimed to be a victim of modern slavery and they blocked the deportation? She got it done on Thursday. She is actually very resolute, and I would say that she's a definite ally, and she's also very strong for Brexit. So that's one thing. So I think that there's a confusion at the heart of the government at the moment. How can you have Shabana Mahmood as the Home Secretary, who's very resolute, and of whom I would say that you should basically support her appointment and her position, and at the same time have Herma as Attorney General, who's completely bound up with the human rights laws. So what happened today, there was one significant thing, which in Labour terms is hugely significant, Nigel, which is, and I'm sorry I can't see you, so sorry I can't make eye contact, is that what they said was they dropped the 50% to university and actually made a turn. Now, I'm in favour of closing down half the universities and turning them into vocational colleges. I used to be laughed at, I used to be mocked. Now it looks like that's edging towards government policy. So there was some stuff on that, you know, and the necessity of public sector reform was actually part of the scene. These are all things I very much support.
But Morris, I'm on the university stuff. You know, I've been saying this since the year 2000. You and I agree on that totally.
Exactly.
Final thought.
Totally.
This Prime Minister has the worst popularity ratings of any Prime Minister since we were tracking this back in 1977. Does, in your opinion, anything he's done this week turn that round, or will he find that using the racist word actually backfires on him?
Oh, totally. This is completely mistaken. And when I apologise to you for what he said, I don't only mean that personally. It's politically ridiculous. It's like saying that all the many millions of people who are looking to reform as the hope of the country are racist. This is insane, Nigel. So no, he deserves to be punished for what he said, as we always deserve to be punished. The point you made about we've got to reconcile. I make every effort in the world to talk to you on GB, to respect you, because that's the way we do politics in this country, and I will always condemn any deviation from that.
Maurice, many thanks indeed. I'm joined in the studio by Sebastian Salek, Labour councillor for Waltham Forest. Well, that was quite a strong condemnation of what the Prime Minister said. But let's face it, the whole Cabinet were saying that this week. Is it useful, in your opinion, for Labour to describe our policies as racist?
I'm glad you said our policies or your policies, because we have to correct the inaccuracies. I have a lot of time for Lord Glasman. I have a lot of respect for him. But to say that you are racist or that Reform voters are racist, nobody's saying that. They are specifically going after the policy. And that, I think, is where they have a point.
Hang on a second. If the policy is racist...
Yeah.
If the millions that believe in the policy, and millions really believe in our policies, particularly on channel migrants being detained and deported, particularly on benefits, 1 in 6 now on universal credit are foreign born. If those that support those policies, therefore must be racist too. That's purely logical.
So we've got to talk about that. The proportion of people who are foreign on benefits is proportionate with the number of foreign-born people in the country. So there is not a disproportionate.
There shouldn't be any on
people.
benefits.
Of course there should be. These are people who are our friends, our neighbours. They come here to work, and sometimes they fall on hard times. So we have to make sure they can get back on their feet, like any worker paying taxes in Britain should have that right. These are not people who are coming to game the system and to live off benefits. That simply is not happening. We have to dispel that myth.
Well, I tell you what, the Boris wave is coming. The Boris wave is coming. Many of them don't work, have never worked, will never work. It's a massive burden. Anyway, let's get back to the main point. The main point is, do you think that and they've used this word, every cabinet minister's used it, they're clearly going to go on using it, will it benefit Labour?
Do you know what? I think it will, because what we're seeing here from Keir Starmer is a bit of honesty. And I think it's something that people have been wanting to see from him for a little while. He's tried a few approaches on immigration. I think not all of them he got right. And he's now going for an approach of say what you think. And it's something that you do, and it's something that you do really successfully. You say what you think. And I'm pleased to see him doing it as well.
I do, but I don't think I'd sink to those depths, frankly.
I don't think so.
I might attack people's policies. I might tease people. I don't go for personal abuse.